Hey folks, as we're approaching some new feature content that slightly tweaks the format a bit around here, but it might be a good idea to show you where I've been, where I am, and maybe where I'm going in my workspace, living space, studio area over the last couple of years. Check it out.
Hey, kid. Yeah, you. Everyone thinks toys are fun, but this is a channel for adults. Yeah, I said it. If you're under the age of 18, go get your parents before you come in here. If you're under the age of 13, scram! Let's get on with the show.
Now, don't worry, I'm not going to give you my life story here, but a little bit of background is probably necessary for you to understand what I'm living with here. I'm in an extended stay hotel. I have been here a little bit over 2 years. It was originally supposed to be a very temporary thing. As you can see, when I first moved in, I was doing whatever I could to make the space livable in the moment. I didn't think I was going to be here more than a few months after I got some new work and got back on my feet. Well, when the pandemic hit, it made getting another place really difficult to do. And I ended up staying, I just kind of committed and buckled down and said, I'm going to be here for at least a year. And I started tweaking things a little bit here and there for comfort, things like that, got different chairs, stuff like that. The workspace that I was in for my day job and any streaming or content that I was producing, although admittedly very sparse at this point, I was between a built-in kitchenette table and a pantry, which was about maybe 3 feet in depth. And I had to put a desk chair there that would just fit. And until very recently, that was how I lived and worked. If I needed to go to the bathroom, I would have to get up, move the chair, push it underneath, get around it, open the door, get in, this whole thing. This is a very small space. And with the bed configured the way that it is by default, there's not a lot of floor space or storage space to speak of. Fast forward to, summer of last year when the bug bit and I decided I'm going to start collecting toys. That created a problem. And within, just a couple of months, like 2-3 months tops, storing everything became a really difficult proposition. And at first I had bins on the right side of the kitchenette table that were stacked very haphazardly, and within a few months after that, it got more and more precarious. The closet in here was just stuffed floor to ceiling with everything I could get in there. And over time, I found a way to organize the closet and kind of hopefully make some ends meet with the bins, although they were still very precarious. I also got a storage space right down the street for any excess stuff that I might have. Even then, there was no display area whatsoever. Making videos was still very difficult, and it just wasn't working. And this year, I decided to make some changes so this was a more livable and workable space. The first thing I did was take the bed from the center place. You could even see the headboard bolted to the wall behind me, and just flip it 90 degrees up against this wall. And this did a lot for me in terms of floor space here, as well as provide me with a little bit of extra space on the end, the foot of the bed, which allowed me space for a toy shelf, such as it is. It's not the most perfect, ornate thing in the world, but for the first time, I'm able to actually display toys, not just for myself, but for on videos and streams and things like that. That was a big boon. And I realized it seems like such a small, quaint thing to be happy about, but when you've been living in cramped quarters for this long, thinking you're going to be out in just a few months, it makes a big difference. So there you go. The second thing that I was able to do was take the dresser that you saw in the photos and the television completely out of the room. Because they're renovating and updating furniture in the spaces, I asked them, I'm going to be here for a while I'm looking for a house to buy, as they well know at this point, obviously. And I asked them, can we get rid of the furniture that you're not going to be using, that I'm not using? And they agreed wholeheartedly. They cleared it through all of their management and ownership. And they said, no, that's perfectly fine. We would be getting rid of the furniture anyway. He's allowing us a head start. This would mean that the room would be usable for them much faster. So it was a mutually beneficial decision. So out a bunch of chairs went, out the dresser went, out the TV went. Suddenly, way more square footage. And again, in a small space, you have to do with every little shred you can get. I bought a desk that is the exact same desk that I've had for the last 6+ years in my travels. Obviously, I didn't have that desk in here before because of space. And when it came time to buy a desk for this area, because I have that desk, but it's in storage 4 hours away, rather than having to finagle all of my stuff out of storage to get up here and then move the desk, and because when I do buy a house, I want more desk area, it just made sense. Get the same desk, you can make an L-shaped unit out of it later. Perfect. I knew what I was working with. So I bought the same desk, built it, put it in here, and started working towards that workable space, as you can see. The next thing that I wanted to modify were the lights I was working with. I have softbox, newer lights that I've been using again for 6, 7, 8, 9 years at this point. And they do the job, but they have one function, on or off. There's no light temperature controls. They're not intrinsically remote controlled, although I was able to do that with a on-off wireless remote for a plug. It worked very well, and I'm very happy with that solution for what it was. But I wanted lights with more control, so they would be a bit more warm, give me a little bit more depth of field, that sort of a thing. And I found, once again through Newer, some LCD panels that did exactly that at a decent price. Felt great. Suddenly, I don't have these big, canvas boxes looming over my head and right in my face at one temperature. It's a lot more workable. I don't have to worry. Now, I thought I was going to use those same lights over at the kitchenette table, which now is no longer my desk and now is my toy photography station. That didn't work out so great. They're much, much too big for that space, and they're just horribly impractical. So what I ended up doing was getting some much smaller, kind of almost tea light size things that are meant for small scale photography. They came with the stands and they had inline controls, and I was like, well, this is perfect. And so between all of that and a cardboard background for the blue to match, we have a way of upping the quality while still maintaining the color schemes and themes of the channel. I'm using the same pop-out blue screen that I've been using since the beginning of the reiteration of the channel with toy collecting. I've been using the green screen for a long time for streaming. You just flip her over, blue's right there. Solved a lot of problems for me. So it just seems a no-brainer to continue using that for feature videos and things like that, because I already had the equipment to put it up. You guys are familiar with it. I've had several people tell me they like the blue because it kind of sets things aside. So when it came time to outfit that kitchenette table as a toy photography station, blue was the way to go. Now, although I still have a bunch of bins stacked up end to end for toys, it's easier to get them down because I have more space to do that. I'm using more see-through bins, so I know what the hell is in each bin. I don't have to worry about labeling it or anything like that. I can just look and see what's going on. Now, again, I realize these are small little things that most people are like, well, yeah, of course you'd keep them in clear bins, or, well, of course you would stack the bins, or of course you would do this or that. You have to understand that I haven't collected toys in earnest since I was a child. I've never had to think about these things. Everything else I collect, you put on a shelf, and that's it. And even with the stuff that I have with the retro games and movies and so forth, I've had to rethink how I'm storing those things here as well, because the focus really is on the toys. And it's been a lot of trial and error. And in the small space, it compounds all of those concerns and really makes you think critically about what you're doing. But now everything is workable. I've got ways to click a few switches and make the lights happen and ensure that I am comfortable and productive in this space. And for those of you that are either patrons or you look at the live streams, you're like, you've told us all this stuff in the past. You're right, I have. But because things are kind of turning a page, there's a bit of a new chapter here right now where content's coming is going to be a lot different than what I've had before. It made sense to me to kind of give you this overview, and I hope that those of you that haven't heard the stories before at least had a little bit of fun. And yes, toy content is coming. One of the advantages of having that space where the toys can just sit, I can get out, X amount of toys and film videos back to back. And because I have two separate spaces for that purpose, this being the on camera, for me, and that being the on camera for the toys, I can kind of flip flop here. We've got live streams coming. All of these things are happening and are going to be easier for me to do even more because I just upgraded my internet for the first time in, again, over 2 years. I'm using a 5G home internet service. So far, it's been great, and that means that everything else is a little bit easier. And all of these little things stack up to less stress and more fun when creating. And I hope that it translates in the videos that you're going to see moving forward, and especially if you compare them to the videos I was making July of last year moving forward. I hope you're going to see a positive change. I thank you for your support. I thank you for your loyalty. I thank you for your viewership and just for being here. So may all your card backs be straight. May all your grinds be merry. May you be able to find anything you're looking for at any given time at a price you feel is reasonable. Thank you again. Cheers. Special thanks to our patrons and members who you're seeing on the screen now. Thank you so much for your support. It really helps.